All right, so John chapter 15. This chapter starts out by telling us like our Heavenly Father is like a vine, and we as believers are like branches. And so we're supposed to be connected to the vine. And the idea is if we're connected to Him, right, He's the source. And so as long as we stay connected to Him, we're going to have life and grow and be healthy. And what flows through the vine or what flows through Him will then flow through us. And that idea is actually super simple, but it can get complicated quickly, right? And we're on a journey to uncomplicate faith. So we have this basic idea, but then Jesus goes a step further and tells us that if a branch is not bearing fruit, our Father, our Heavenly Father, will actually prune it off, meaning in order for growth, there needs to be a pruning process. And pruning is not something you would think of as fun, but it is worth it when you look at it from the goal of becoming and staying healthy. I remember growing up, seeing my mom prune roses, and I had no idea what she was doing. Like, why would she be cutting off the branches of such pretty flowers? And this is, when she was explaining to me that there is something good happening, even when I could only see what I thought was bad. I couldn't help but think of this from the point of the rose bush, which was probably not fun at the moment. And this makes me think of when, we are being pruned. Why? Because often we choose happiness at the expense of being healthy. But God's not interested in taking shortcuts or compromising for your comfort. He's in the business of growing and maturing you into the best version of yourself, becoming more Christ-like, healthy, whole, bearing fruit. And something that can hurt or help our growth in relationships. Not just romantic ones, but all sorts of relationships. You're only as healthy as your relationship. And so I would go as far as to say you're only going to be as healthy as your relationship with God is. And a factor that influences your relationship, with God, the dynamics is going to be your relationship with others. I remember when I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school, bless the Lord for His chicken, but some of my coworkers were just not the best influences on my life. They were fun, we had lots of laughs together, we'd hang out after work, but they weren't like doing anything, crazy, but eventually it got to a point where I realized they just weren't healthy for me, right? Relationships can either draw you closer to God or further away, and I realized that I needed to do some pruning in my life, in my relationships, so that I wasn't spending as much time being pulled away from God and the things He wanted me to do. And to be clear, I'm not saying cancel someone or ghosting them. Like, that's not cool. I'm saying we have to evaluate our relationships and gauge if they're drawing us closer to God, if they're helping us bear fruit, or if they're just pulling us away from God. And the ones that are pulling us away might need to be pruned a little. We might want to invest a little less into those relationships and a little more into the ones that draw us closer to God, that help us bear fruit. So evaluate your relationships. Consider what might need some pruning, because Jesus makes it clear that if we don't prune, our Father certainly will for our benefit.